Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome back. It's time for another Mass Make Monday, and in case you're new to my channel, what I do is I set a timer for 45 minutes and I try to see how many of a particular item I can make in that time. And today we're going to do some stack and whack journaling cards. I've previously done a Mass Make Monday where we did stack and whack tag shapes, but honestly I was having a hard time figuring out what I wanted to do for this Mass Make Monday, and I was like, let's do some stack and whacks. They're fun and relatively easy. So the prep for this is, and if you didn't see my previous video, is you'll need 5 pages of decorative paper and then 5 bases for your journaling card. I went with my standard card size of 5.5 by 4.25, and I've prepped all the papers, and they all need to be cut to the same size. So that's what I've already done. I've done some Halloween, I've done some neutral, and I've done some Christmassy ones. So I'm gonna set these guys aside and show you how to stack and whack, and I'll start my timer. I'll try and start my timer. There we go. All right, so to do the stack and whack, what you're gonna do is set aside your bases, and I just use my regular Nina Sola White cardstock because none of my coffee dyed paper's flat because I don't iron it out, and it just makes it easier to glue to a completely flat surface instead of a lumpy bumpy surface. So that's what I did, and as I said, they're all 5.5 by 4.25. And then I just went through my Halloween cardstock stash or scrapbook paper stash. So I grabbed a whole bunch of papers out of there and just cut them to size. Now, what you're gonna wanna do is put a couple of paper clips on. And let's see, we're gonna do our first tear. This is the whacking. So we stacked our papers and now we're going to whack them. And then what we want to end up with is 5 pieces. So we're going to do 5 rips total. So let's do this one. Let's rip down here. Now, if you wanted to do 6, you'd need to add a 6th piece of paper to your stack and a number 6 base, because you'll understand once we've done one if you're not familiar. All right, I'm gonna shift these down a little so I have room to spread out my journaling cards. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our top pile, this is pile number 1, and we're gonna start with base number 1. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna take pile number 2 and we're gonna start on number 2, and we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pile number 3 is going to start on card number 3. See where I'm going with this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pile number 4 is going to start on card 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then number 5 starts here. So this is a very easy way to get a collage look without, the stress of trying to figure out how to collage papers together, because it's a very straightforward formula. All right, I'm gonna kind of stack these guys on top of each other and shift them out of the way so we can work on one at a time. And I'm gonna grab a dauber because this is a white core cardstock, and so I got lots of white showing that I am not appreciating, and I'm gonna grab some Hickory Smoke Distress ink, and I'm just going to ink the edges. I know I am rather tired because the last 2 days I was at a conference, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It's I'm a member of a professional association for my job position kind of thing, and we put on, and this was an organization I was the president of for more years than I had planned on being, and the immediate past president of for more years than I planned on being. So I have in the past been very heavily involved in putting on the conference. So this is the first time since the 2017 conference that I've attended the conference and not been in charge of anything. I could just go and enjoy the conference, and it was lovely. And what I love about it is because I work for the state court system, so all of my buddies are spread across the state of Florida, which, if you are not aware, is a rather large state. And takes many hours if you want to go from one end to the other. I'm not even sure how long it would take, but like I have mapped out like driving to visit a friend in the Panhandle, and it was at least a 6-hour drive, and I'm in the middle of the state, and it might have been 8, I can't remember, but yeah, it's a big. Yeah, it must have been more like 7 or 8, because I'm pretty sure Tallahassee's like 5 hours from here, which is our state capital. All right, I'm just gonna glue my pieces on now. I didn't ink the outside edges because I can do that after, so to save time. I just wanted to ink the seams where we did our rips, because one, it's harder to do it once you glue stuff down, and 2, it's just going to take up more time, and 2 is it take up more time, and 3 is it makes the seams stand out a little bit better and gives more interest to the finished piece. So yeah, I'm a little bit tired today because I know I've mentioned this before. I work fully remote. I work from home, so I don't talk to a lot of people during my workday, generally speaking. All right, and sometimes with the way I end up tearing things, I get open areas, and I'll just come back and add some ink or cover that with some decoration, so it's not a big deal. So don't worry if that happens. So yeah, I did a lot more talking and interacting socially than I normally do, and so I'm really, really tired. It was a lot of fun. It was enjoyable. We had some really great speakers. I learned a lot and enjoyed all the speakers. And then of course my poor dogs are not used to me being gone all day. And so the conference was located here in the Orlando area, and we have restrictions regarding what travel for like conferences and stuff will get reimbursed. And so I live too close to get reimbursed to stay at the hotel, and plus it's a hassle to get someone to take care of the dogs overnight. So I had to drive in each morning, and that was not exactly fun because it required driving on I-4, which anyone who lives in the Central Florida area or drives to and around the Central Florida area at all knows I-4 is miserable. All right. So we got one of the 5 for this set done. So let's pull over the next one. And we're just gonna keep gluing everybody on and inking and moving along and hopefully get a bunch done. So yeah, I hate I-4. I avoid it like the plague. And so it was one of those, I gotta drive on I-4 to get there. I also, because I-4 is no fun to drive on, it means where the hotel was located, even though it's only like 20 miles from my house, it's a good 45-minute to an hour drive to get to and from where we were going at the time of day that I was going there. So that was fun because I had to get up basically 2 hours earlier than I normally do in order to, get ready, get out of the house, take care of dogs, and get to the conference on time. So yeah, and unfortunately we've got the organization signed like a 3-year contract with the venue where we had the conference this year. So for the next 3 years, it's going to be at the same venue. So next 2 years. So if I go again, I will also have to drive in each day. So not so much with the fun. So yeah, that's what I did the last couple days. Got to hang with buddies that I haven't seen since the last conference, or even longer, because not everybody goes to the conference every year. Like my friend Emily wasn't at last year's conference. Yeah, no, she did not go to last year's conference. So the last time I saw her was, I think, 2022. She was at the conference, maybe not. I don't remember at this point. So if she wasn't at that conference, then the last time I saw her was 2019, because we did not have conferences in 2020 and 21 because of the pandemic. So yeah, it was great catching up with them, seeing how they're doing, chatting. You know, there are the faces that I recognize from, because this is, I think, like the 15th in-person conference I have attended during my career, and we actually give out service pin awards. So I got my 20-year service pin award at this year's conference because I have been in my position for 20 years now. So that was nice. So I have that pin to go along with my 5-year, my 10-year, and my 15-year pin. And then let's see what else happened. Got to hang out with several other friends that I, get to see maybe once a year. If I'm lucky, saw all, the people I've been seeing for years at conference. So that was nice. But again, exhausting because I don't interact with people that often. And I was out of the house for more hours than I normally am because I had to leave, my house at... The first day we started earlier than the second day, so I think I left at like 7:15 the first day and 7:30 the second day, and didn't get home. The second day I didn't get home till almost 8 o'clock because we had a little bit of a social after, and I sat around talking, and I ended up sitting around talking for longer than I had planned on it. The dogs were very not happy with me when I got home. All right, something got mixed up on this one. I'm looking at the other ones because somebody moved here, because we got the top, because this should not be in the same place on this one twice. That goes there, I think that goes there, and that one's there. Okay, that's what happened. Had a little shifting when I moved these over. So yeah, I did not get home until almost 8 o'clock Thursday, and I was exhausted. And then yesterday, the drive home was miserable. I left like the conference ended before 4. Stood around chatting for like an hour and a half with my one friend from the Panhandle, because she lives so far away. She gets to stay an extra night at the hotel and travel the next day, so she wasn't leaving. And the other friend, was driving back up to Gainesville, which isn't that far from Orlando. It's about 2-ish hours, depending on where you're going. But I think he, like me, was hoping if we didn't leave, that we would be able to miss some of the awful traffic. And, no, not at all. In fact, as I commented, I hate I-4. The worst part of the drive was like the 5 miles from the hotel to I-4. It was so backed up. It took me like 20 minutes to do that. And then I'm pretty sure I spent more time on that stretch of the drive home than I actually did during the 13-mile drive on I-4, which was just crazy. So yeah, it took me close to an hour to get home, and I was not happy about that, but I did get home earlier because I left at, the first night I left at like 6:45. This time I left at like 5:45. So I got home at about 6:30, 6:40-ish last night, and the puppies were like, oh my God, where have you been? Stop abandoning us. I sat down on the couch after I let them out, fed them, had some dinner, sat down on the couch to watch some TV, and my dog like climbed into my lap, pawed at me to put a blanket on him, climbed into my lap, and just like passed out in my lap. He's like, okay, you's home, you're not moving, we are snuggling. I was like, all right, little dog. So that was my Friday evening, was sitting on my couch with a dog, watching YouTube videos. So, all right, let's see if we can speed ourselves up a little bit. Probably not. And if you're wondering what this is the Might Sweet Petunia glue press. And so it has a little handle for pressing with the glue, and I'm gonna give it a mixed review. Like, I picked it up, I watch a lot of videos by Maymay on her channel's Maymay Made It, and she's been using the glue press for a while now. And I was thinking about it, and I decided, I spent an afternoon or a morning one day doing collages, and I found by the end of the day my hand hurt from squeezing my glue bottle. And I notice, as I start to get to the end of my bottle of, which I usually use, of art glitter glue, and that's what I have in here is art glitter glue, my hand was starting to hurt. And one of the things I had heard about the glue press is it helps if you have, issues with your hand. So I picked one up. And it comes with a bottle of actual glue and then a spare bottle, which I'm not sure where my spare bottle is. I think, yes, spare bottle, no spare bottle? Now I can't remember. But it does come with two tips. It comes with a narrow tip and then a wider tip. And so I started using it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Now, the idea is it's got a little stand it sits in that has like a little foam squishy spot on there that's supposed to keep it from clogging. I have not had great luck with it. I think if you're using it every day, if you're using your glue press more than I am using my glue press, that may work out for you. But my nozzle of the press does not sit into the base properly, because it's got like a silicone thing at the bottom that it's supposed to serve as like a stopper on it, and I'm just not seeing that that's working so great for me. So I usually it also has like a cap that goes on, put it back into the cap between uses, because otherwise it gets all kinds of clogged up. And my other complaint that I actually heard someone else make about it is, this is a replacement top to it, because my skinny, like the fine tip point, broke not too long after I got the glue press. So I was not thrilled with that, and I meant to message where I bought it from with a hey, this happened kind of thing, and just never got around to it. So, but yeah, I give it mixed reviews, because I was not happy with that. Not happy with the fact that it actually clogs and I can't leave it, because the stand's designed for it to sit like this. And there's that little, see, I've got glue oozing out. I don't know what it is with my little silicone button thing, but it doesn't seem to cover the nozzle properly when I have it in. I don't know if I'm just not getting it in right or what, but it should not be this difficult to use to keep it from clogging. So that feature, it's good enough when I'm actually sitting and using it, but between uses, it definitely clogs up on me. Did I mix that up? I did. That does not go there. Let's see if we can get it off. That's the one downside with art glitter glue and with talking so much, is I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. All right. I'm gonna peel that off. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna cover all that up. That one's supposed to go there, I think, right? It's supposed to go like that. Okay, yes. Or, I just dropped a piece. Here's the last one. Okay. If I had more space to do this, it would have been better not to have moved the ones once we did the piling out, because what ends up happening is stuff gets shifted around, and I would have done a better job of making sure I put pieces back where they went after inking them, because otherwise you get them mixed up and you can't piece them back together properly. Alright, let's glue this guy down. And he'll be fine. I'll just stick a little glue up under the ripped spots so that they sit down better. That on there. So yeah, I like the fact that it saves my hand a bit if I'm doing a lot of gluing. But I don't know. The no clog feature doesn't really work for me, and I'm hoping the new nozzle will last longer. Because yeah, if I'm gonna have to replace that nozzle at the speed I had to replace it after after I first got it. Oh, and we are moving slow. We're like halfway through, almost. And we've only got one set done. It does take a bit with all of the inking to get stuff done, unfortunately. But I think it does make a big difference. Like, I wouldn't want all that white showing. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else has been going on. Not a whole heck of a lot other than going to conference and crafting. So, but yeah, the conference was my big excitement for this week. All right, let's put that lid on. Let's do this. And it does work a little bit better when I'm like in the midst of crafting. Then, you know, I don't have as much clogging as I would with whatchamacallit, me leaving my pin out of my art glitter glue bottle. So that's kind of nice in that I don't have to keep putting a pin back in. Sticking it in the stand works well enough while I'm using it. It's just between uses, it tends to get a little cloggy. So, I did just get a new waffle flower, like sticky grid, like the photopolymer mats that fits in my Misty, which is also on my Sweet Petunia product. And I gave that a try this morning, and oh, I think I'm gonna really love that. Because if you're not familiar with the Misty, it's a stamping tool that lets you stamp in the same spot over and over again on a piece. And it's got magnets that you use to hold your paper in place so that it doesn't shift while you're doing your stamping. All right, let's grab another stack. I'm gonna grab this one, and these papers are by Recollections, which is like Michael's paper brand, I think. All right, making sure I had all 5. Let's paper clip and
whack, which, you know, I had like 3 super duper magnets, and they're actually the magnets that, the ones that I had when you buy them, they come with a warning that if you have a pacemaker, you shouldn't use these magnets. And the problem is sometimes the magnets shift, and ooh, my paper's shifting, which is not good. Well, we'll just solve that problem with ink, because yeah, they shifted out of alignment. Kind of bummed about that, but let's get it a little bit better. This is a little bit thicker than the other paper. I find I have more issues with thicker paper than thinner paper with the whacking part of the whack and stack and whack. All right. Do we want to leave the bottom as the big piece this time? I tore it a little too big, I think. So let's go ahead and add another paper clip. Do that, and then add another paper clip over here. And do like that. And so there we go. Let's shift them a little down, lay out our cards. And I think I'm gonna try and leave them a little bit better, like in place this time. And hopefully we can get these guys done quicker so that we can at least maybe get 3 sets done. Where did, oh, that's why they were stuck together. And this isn't super thick. And a tip I would give you is if you're doing this, try and keep your papers of a similar thickness to each other. I find I had more issues with them not lining up together properly when they were like of varying thicknesses. Like I did book page with a slightly thicker scrapbook page one time, and it I don't think worked out as well as these guys where the papers of the same thickness, because you end up running into weird tearing issues. So just going around and putting our papers down. I think what I'll do is I'll just shift this up a little and we'll work on this one. And I am going to just use the black soot again, since these are kind of black and gray neutrals, and try and get this done faster. But as I was saying about my Misty, I'd use the 3 magnets to hold the paper in place, and sometimes if I didn't have the magnets placed right, they wouldn't work, and what would end up happening is the paper would stick to the stamp and come up with the stamp. And so the magnets worked good, but not great. And I ran into the problem if I was using like a really big stamp, sometimes I wouldn't have enough space to use the magnets at all, and so I'd have to use like a, whatchamacallit, repositionable adhesive underneath to hold the paper in place if I was worried my image wasn't going to stamp good and I wanted to be able to restamp with it. So I got the photopolymer piece that now fits inside the Misty, and I tried it out this morning and did a little bit of stamping, and I'm like, this is great because you don't need the magnets. The paper sticks to the photopolymer piece that goes in the bottom of the Misty, and so it worked out really good. I was very happy about it. I was watching, I think it was a Simon Hurley video that I found out that the Waffle Flowers made one that fit inside the Misty, because I picked up one of the sticky grids made out of photopolymer by Altenew, and it's the replacement one for their stamp wheel. Is that what it's called? I forget. I think that's what it is, the stamp wheel. And so it's, I think, like 7x7, and I used it, I've been using it for stenciling and holding papers in place, and I really liked it for that. I think it's a very handy tool, and it was less expensive to buy just the mat versus buying a stamp wheel, which, since I've got a Misty, I was like, I don't need the stamp wheel too as well, since I've got a Misty. Although they are coming out with a 2.0 version that has, you can remove one of the side pieces so you can stamp on bigger sheets of paper than what I can do in my Misty. So that one I think may be going on my Christmas wish list because it's a little pricey, but I like the idea that you're able to get bigger pieces of paper into the thing than I can with my Misty. Yeah, that went all kinds of out of whackness. All right, I'm gonna set that one aside. Let's go to this one and get moving. So yeah, I'm very excited about the new mat in the bottom of my Misty because I think it's gonna make my life so much easier than currently. And yeah, I may get a stamp wheel because there's some other functions that it will do that you can't really do with a Misty, like stamping in a circular shape, like to create wreath images using your stamps, which would be kind of cool to do. So stay tuned on that. That may be a post-Christmas gift since my dad just gives me money for Christmas, does not go Christmas shopping. I may use my Christmas money for a stamp wheel. All right, we are at like less than 15 minutes, which I cannot believe. The time is flying by so fast. So hopefully we'll at least get all 3, 5, however many of these done. All right, let's go from the top down this time because I think that might have saved that the gap on the other one might not have been as big had I done that. I think I might have been last time talking about what I've been watching on TV, and I just finished watching, actually earlier in the week, I finished watching on Netflix Chaos, which is like a modern interpretation of Greek mythology, and I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting, like very well done, and apparently it's very popular on Netflix right now, so that bodes well for a second season because it definitely left you off with a, okay, there needs to be a second season kind of situation. And then I started watching Mayfair Witches, which I'm not enjoying as much. I thought it was going to be like really good and I was really going to enjoy it because I remember reading the novel, which if you don't know, it's a novel by Anne Rice, and I read it and I was sitting there thinking about it, and I realized I'm like, because I'm not like, it's not like I'm watching it and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this or I remember that or they're doing that different. I remember very little other than the impression of having enjoyed the book. And then I thought about it and did the math and realized, well, probably because I read it like 30 years ago, because I read it my freshman year of college. And I actually borrowed it from my grandmother, which was great because if you haven't read it, it's a very detailed, very in-depth, like chronology. Well, I don't even know if chronology is the right word because it like bounces back and forth between the past and the present, or at least the present for the storyline. And you get all of these different names tossed at you. So my grandmother, in reading it, like created a family tree that she like wrote out on paper and had tucked in the book, which made it so much easier for me when I went to read it, because this was, you know, before the days of Wikipedia where you could just look up a family tree for the Mayfair Witches, because it was deep and involved and a very rich story. But yeah, I don't think I would have gotten through that book if I hadn't had my grandmother's family tree for the Mayfair Witches handy, because it was very complex storyline. I suspect it's a little bit like Game of Thrones, which I have not read, but I have a friend who did, and he's got like a gazillion and 6 characters in that storyline. So I suspect having some kind of family and interrelationship chart for those books would be useful too. But these days, all you have to do is look it up on Wikipedia or Google it, and you can probably find it online, whereas 30 years ago, that was not a resource that was available. So thankfully, Grandma had read the book first. Yes, my grandmother was a voracious reader. And a lot of what she read was on the horror and mystery end of the spectrum, because, you know, one of the, and so my freshman year of college, I read a fair bit of horror because I'd borrow books from her and read them, and mysteries. So I read a whole bunch of surprisingly, I read a lot my freshman year of college. It was probably the most prolific reading time of my life, and that was due in part to the fact that I was living with my grandparents in Queens and going to college in Manhattan. So I had about an hour commute, most of it on a train, to and from school my freshman year. And so I would be on the train and I could read on the, you know, New York subway. So if I'd already gotten my schoolwork reading done, I'd be reading a novel during my commute. Or if I was home in the evenings and I had already finished my schoolwork, I would pick up a novel and read that. So I read a lot of John Saul books, which are in the horror realm, a la like Stephen King-ish, except his always involved kids or children as like the victim of the spooky, haunting, scary stuff. So I did read a ton of his books. I also read my freshman year of college. What did I read? The Anne Rice Mayfair Witches. I also read, you know, Interview with the Vampire, because I'm pretty sure the movie came out around about that time frame. So I read Interview with a Vampire, which was okay. Quite frankly, I think the second book in the series, which is Lestat the Vampire, which like goes through his history, and if you're at all familiar with Interview with a Vampire, Lestat's the one who made the main character in Interview, who was, you know, Louis, into a vampire, and it's his story. And that one, I think it's much longer and more detailed and in depth, and I remember reading it and really enjoying it, but also thinking it was way better than the one they made into a movie, that it just had so much more going on in it. Which I did start watching the AMC movie of Interview with a or TV series of Interview with the Vampire, and I think I had like it was one of those where I had access on streaming to like the first few episodes, but the rest required me to do a subscription that I'm like, yeah, no, not doing that. But I've seen it pop up on Netflix now, so I may go back and watch it. I wasn't loving it enough to want to spend the money to do the subscription, which is why I didn't finish watching it, but I may go back and watch it now that it's on something I already have subscription-wise. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed in the Mayfair Witches series on Netflix. All right. Last one here, and I don't know that we're gonna get the next stack done, so I may just get it started because we've only got about 6 minutes left. Or do we want to decorate? I don't know. My brain is not feeling very decorate-y right now. You know, sometimes when you're crafting, it's like, I just need to do something a little mindless. And, you know, this does not require a ton of brain power, whereas figuring out how I want to decorate my whacked and stacked journaling cards, I think it's just beyond me right now. So maybe we'll just get the next set going and not finish them. Or we'll finish this video early and just stop with the 2 sets that we did get done. Let's get one of the Christmas ones started at least. And these papers are so old. I think at least some of them are from like Oriental Trading Company, which I bought from when I first started paper crafting. I'm gonna make that the bottom so that we leave the bottom intact and whack the top one into 2 pieces for a change. I'm hoping we'll actually be able to get maybe one of these done. All right, gonna shift. The real problem is gonna be I'm gonna want to ink edges, but I don't know what color I want. Because thinking something in that, like that green. All right, I think I know what I'm gonna grab. Problem being finding it quickly. I think we're gonna try Spruce, which is a little bluey green oxide color, kind of gray. I think that'll work best. And I'm just gonna grab a random dauber, one that's actually in the same color family, maybe, possibly, perhaps. This one should work. All right. All right, I think we may get one assembled. Okay, I'm not mad at that. I may change it up for the rest of them. Just to make it a little brighter, maybe? I don't know. Let's see how it looks once we get it done. And with this one, I probably could have skipped inking the edges because I've got a couple pieces that are got a lot of white on them, so it would be less noticeable that we had white showing on the ripped pieces. But I like the fact that inking the edges helps the, seams where we're gluing pieces together stand out more. All right, let's go this way. I'm like, why is this not right? Oh, there goes our timer. We'll stop that. I'll finish this one. Yeah, this one, I don't know why or what project I did it for because it was a long time ago, but I apparently glued 2 of these pages together, but I really wanted to use it, and I didn't have any more of this paper, but I really thought it would work great with the rest of these, and I didn't have, because this is, an unusual color scheme, I didn't really have any other papers in my stash. Oh, look, and it's now pulling apart part of the way. Like, I tried to separate them, but they didn't want to, but now that they're whacked, I may see if I can pull the rest of them apart. All right, I am going to off camera finish this set up, and then I'll come back and show you what we got done. Okay, so here are the ones we got done on screen. So we got one of the Christmas ones, and then we got these Halloween-y ones. So we got that one. Definitely gonna have to go back and do some inking because this one I got all kinds of out of whack with the rips and have white showing, so I will either cover that up when decorating or go in with my dauber and just ink so that it's not that stark white like that. And then still probably, if it's still showing too much, cover it, but so not a big deal. And then we did these guys using a more neutral palette so they can be used for pretty much anything. And again, that one's got a big streak through there, although that one's less bothersome because of the color palette of this one. It doesn't stand out so much as like this weird gap, but I may cover it. I don't know. We'll see when I get around to decorating. And then I finished these guys off camera. So there we go. So we ended up creating a total of 11 on camera, and then when I add the 4 in that I did off camera, I've got 15 journaling cards ready for decorating. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.